All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw post-show edition of Beyond the Mat. It is May 9th, 2022. The show is live from Hartford, Connecticut tonight. I felt like we got a decent episode of Monday Night Raw tonight. Basically, a nice salmon dinner after the steak dinner we got at Backlash last night. Backlash was a pretty good pay-per-view given the fact that a lot of people consider it a throwaway show and a show that didn't need to happen. But to me, all 6 matches over-delivered on what we were expecting, despite the fact that the main event had no stakes whatsoever. We saw some storyline progression with Lashley, Omos, and MVP last night. We saw Cody and Seth have a great match, and their feud continue after we seen what happened on the show tonight. We also saw Charlotte Flair get a kayfabe injury. She will be taking some time off now to follow through with her marriage to Andrade. We won't be seeing her for a while. We'll be seeing Ronda Rousey as champion, and it remains to be seen who is going to be the heel that steps up on SmackDown to take on Ronda Rousey. We also know that going into SmackDown this week, we have a women's tag team championship match. We had another one tonight that tag champs easily went over in, and we also saw Madcap Moss defeat Baron Corbin, or Happy Corbin, as we should say. Happy Corbin is probably going to see a gimmick change after dealing with Madcap Moss and losing here. I don't know what they're going to do with Moss, but moving on from that, the main event of the show, having the Bloodline and RK-Bro with Drew McIntyre. Again, I thought that was the right finish. They had Roman Reigns pin Riddle. They protected Orton. They protected McIntyre from the finish. And it looked like at different times that RK-Bro had the upper hand on the Usos. And it also looked like individually Drew McIntyre had the upper hand on Roman Reigns. So if they split them apart and have a singles match and a tag match, tag unification match, whatever the hell you want to call it, you'd end up with maybe RK-Bro going over, and maybe you'd end up with Drew McIntyre defeating Roman Reigns. I think that's where we're going. I think eventually we're going to get Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns in a title match main event. And given what we saw tonight with RK-Bro wanting to go after the unified tag titles, we may see that happen as well. So the show opens tonight with a tag title match, RK-Bro versus Street Profits. Now, I'll go into this saying, we've seen this fucking match over and over again. How many times do we need to see the Street Profits get pinned by RK-Bro? Again, we have to see it tonight. So to open the show, we have Riddle and Orton come out first. Fish come out of Riddle's ass here. Randy chants start raining in from the crowd. They get a big babyface reaction to open it up. Riddle welcomes everybody to Monday Night Raw. Says, we gave it all we got last night. We lost the battle, but we will win this war, says Randy Orton. Said the Usos had the idea for the unification match, but nothing was on the line because Roman Reigns knows the Usos cannot hold the candle to RK-Bro. So now we want to be the unified champs, and we are going to SmackDown. Riddle says, since the Usos can't make their own decisions on their own, and we will be at SmackDown on Friday, we will go right up to the Tribal Chief and demand that unification match. He says if Roman Reigns says no, then it shows he has no confidence in the Usos. He says, I'll have my scooter ready, and Randy will just bring himself with his Viperisms and all that. So then they get interrupted by the Street Profits. Street Profits start making their way down with their solo cups and all that shit. Montez Ford grabs a mic, says, hey, tough loss last night, guys. They are tough, but we are the ones you need to worry about because we're the ones here on Raw. We're here to tell you that before you go over to SmackDown, we need you to take care of us next. They get into the ring and say, I guess your 420 shirts have fogged your heads up because you forgot about us. Then they challenge for a tag title match, and off we go. Before the match, Riddle says, RK-Bro 420 says, we just smoked your ass. And Beyond the Mat says, I've seen this match a million times already. Why the hell are we seeing it again? Nonetheless, it was a pretty good match here. Street Profits were a little bit aggressive at first. Ford went to roll up Riddle 3 different times right out of the gate, unsuccessfully. Then hit a drop kick to Riddle. Then Dawkins gets in there, hits a shoulder block on Riddle, goes for a cover, only gets two. Profits are being real aggressive. Like I said, they're really trying to win this match. Riddle then takes advantage with some kicks, gets Dawkins into the corner, tags Orton into the match. Orton beats the living shit out of Dawkins, post to post, mounts 10 punches on the top rope. Then he tags in Riddle. They hit the assisted Proton for a 2 count. Nice spot there. Dawkins and Riddle then spill out to ringside. Riddle drops Dawkins with the knee. Montez Ford comes flying over the top rope to take everyone out with a flying swanton bomb. We then go to a commercial. Riddle and Ford are fighting in the middle of the ring. When we come back, Ford's pulling Riddle away from the hot tag. Typical RK-Bro match here with Riddle getting the hell beaten out of him, going for the hot tag. Eventually, he gets the tag. Orton runs wild, hits a snap body slam on both Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, then takes Dawkins to the ropes, nails him with the draping DDT right into the canvas, starts the Vipers up, goes for the RKO, but Dawkins pushes him into the corner. This allows Riddle to tag Orton. Riddle tags in and takes out Dawkins and wipes out Ford with a knee ringside, goes over the top rope with the senton, but ends up taking out Orton instead. This allows him to get isolated in the ring. Dawkins plants Riddle with a spine buster. Ford then nails a nice looking frog splash like he always does off the top rope. This gets a very close near fall. Ford and Riddle now in the ring. Really, really cool spot coming up here. Ford goes for a frog splash for the finish, but Riddle catches him, nails the RKO, and hits him with the pin for the 1, 2, 3, and RK-Bro retains their title. So the Profits here don't want to be overlooked by RK-Bro, even though they've been beaten 100 times in the past 3 months. The story here is that they were just trying to stand in the way of RK-Bro going for the unified titles. We really didn't need to see this match, but it's always well worked between these two teams. Exciting match to open up the night. Just a little bit boring because it's a rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch with these two teams. Again, I don't know who else they're going to put RK-Bro up against, but they can find somebody other than the Street Profits to put them up against before they go over to face the Usos. Moving on, we have Austin Theory. He's asked about what he's going to do when he faces Cody Rhodes tonight. Says he doesn't even need to prepare because he can do this all day. He said, I'm the U.S. champ. I'm the youngest one ever. Only scratched the surface of my potential. Said when I was in diapers, that was the last time Cody was here. And I'm not about the past. I'm about the future. And the future is Theory. I think Theory is a bullshit name. And if the future is going to be about this guy, they need to change his name because it's goddamn insufferable to sit here and call him Theory. Even the damn announcers can't even say his name. They're sitting there slipping up saying Austin all the time when it's really supposed to be just Theory. I mean, come on, guys. Let's just give him a real name. Stop with this Theory shit. I mean, you can sit here and say, I have a theory. This guy's a fucking asshole. I mean, they're just setting him up to be made fun of. It's a terrible fucking name. And for a guy that you're trying to build your company's future around, I would think that you give him a better name than what they've given him. Hopefully they get there eventually sometime soon. I don't know what the hell they're going to call him. They could call him anything but Theory, and I think it'd be better. I mean, if he was ever to get a tag team partner, would the tag team partner be named Philosophy or something like that? I mean, this Theory name is really starting to bother me, and they need to do something about it because it's fucking stupid. Next up, we get Judgment Day to come out to do a promo. Edge comes out with Priest and Rhea Ripley. They enter Edge's theme. Boos start to rain in. Edge starts to say that they're there because they're tired of being sheep. He goes on to say that the fans didn't give a crap about his neck injury. They just wanted him to come back. Fans are booing him here. He says that he doesn't give a crap because everybody just goes home, goes on their devices, and writes shit on social media or whatever. Fans continue to boo him. He then says the same kind of shit about everybody not liking to look at themselves in the mirror. He says AJ's a moron like everybody there in Hartford, and they don't understand anything, and no one can touch them. Them being Judgment Day. You suck chants start to rain in. Priest then gets on the mic. Oh, God, we got Priest on the mic. Priest says individually, Edge and I could destroy all of your favorite guys, but together we are more. We are something else. But imagine adding an instrument of brutality. So he says, all rise for Rhea Ripley. Now we got the heels telling everybody to rise for Rhea Ripley. Nobody wants to fucking do that. Everybody boos while this is happening. She says that joining Judgment Day was the easiest decision of her life. She said she saw Edge and Damien change for the better. She's done signing autographs and seeing people selling them on eBay. She's getting wadded by the fans now at this point. She said she's done being used, and that's why she joined this faction. Now, speaking of being used, she says, I have unfinished business with Liv Morgan. You no longer ride my coattails, Liv, and I'll give you a reason to cry. Edge then says Rhea and Priest were basically ships without rudders, and he is the rudder to guide them. Now, a few weeks ago, he said he told Rhea that Liv was holding her down like an albatross the size of a human LOL doll. He said, sorry, Liv, I am the reason you broke up. Then he goes on to say how much potential Rhea has, and his movement isn't done. They're looking for more members. So, Edge here hinting that we're going to get more members to the Judgment Day faction. All right, that's cool. I really like to see another male member, especially after what we saw tonight. They need another male member because we know Edge isn't going to wrestle too much on television. He's going to do the interference stuff. He's going to cut promos for these people. He's good at cutting promos. These people need a mouthpiece. Priest can't do anything on the mic worth mentioning. Rhea's never had great promos, so Edge is really helping them out in that capacity. And rubbing them up against them certainly helps their popularity. And most importantly, Rhea as a heel now has the opportunity to challenge Bianca Belair for the women's championship, which is something that we definitely want to see. We've seen them face off in the Royal Rumble situations, in the Elimination Chamber situations, and these 5 women matches that result in a title shot. We've always seen really good sequences between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. I really think that they can have some great chemistry in the ring, and I want to see Ripley go after Bianca Belair here. I don't know who's going to protect Bianca Belair from Judgment Day. Maybe the Street Profits, instead of messing with RK-Bro every fucking week, can decide that Montez Ford should protect his wife, Bianca Belair, and have the guy that's lost on his way to basketball practice, Angelo Dawkins, helping him out as well. I don't know. But other than that, we're going to move on here because we have a match coming up. We get Liv Morgan coming out to interrupt all this shit for the match. Ripley makes short work of her here, though. Ripley gets in control early with a headbutt, then takes Liv to the corner, charges some shoulders into her, then runs her into the other corner. She sets Liv on the top rope. Looks like she's going for some kind of superplex or something, but Liv ends up knocking her down, gets in one of her few offensive moves of the night. It's a nice looking Hurricane Rana off the top rope, but quickly eats a boot by Ripley, who basically no-sold the Hurricane Rana. Ripley then fighting with some serious aggression on Liv, mounts some punches on her. Then she starts ramming Liv's head into the mat, kicks her in the head, rolls her to the rope, chokes her out on the rope, continues smashing Liv into the canvas. Looks like proceeds to lock in a body triangle and calls Liv pathetic. Liv fights out of this, but is greeted nicely with the clothesline. Ripley then spends a lot of time standing over Liv and beating her down. That's kind of what the story of the match was. Liv got out of a riptide attempt and starts landing some punches, hits an enziguri and a beautiful looking float over DDT. Then she hits the ropes, drops Ripley with a double flying knee to the face for a near fall. Finish sees Liv go for a springboard dropkick, but Rhea sidesteps it, drops Liv with a kick. Then she picks her up in a vertical cloverleaf hold. Liv taps out immediately. Then all of Judgment Day gets into the ring. So we got Edge, Priest, and Ripley in there. Edge tells Ripley to go after Liv more. So Ripley locks in the hold again at the request of Edge while Morgan screams in agony. Then we get Finn Balor's music hit. He comes out, stands at the top of the ramp, waits for Styles' music to hit. Styles comes out. They both stand at the top of the ramp. We go to a commercial. Coming back from the commercial, we have Damien Priest versus Finn Balor, AJ Styles at ringside, Rhea Ripley at ringside, Edge at ringside. Balor starts out this one in control. Priest takes over real fast, though, and hits a splash in the corner. Balor fights back with a basement drop kick and some low kicks. Priest fights out of the corner and laces him with a nice lariat. Falcon Arrow suplex by Damien, then a chin lock in the middle of the ring. Damien now strongly in control, but Finn Balor fights out with a jawbreaker. Big boot then drops Balor as he's trying to gain some momentum. Then a chin lock by Priest mid-ring slows everything down. Staying grounded now. He's got Balor in a chokehold. Balor fights out and they run the ropes. Priest looks for a tilt-a-whirl slam, but Balor reverses it into a nice-looking side Russian leg sweep, followed by some chops and some kicks. Does a double leg takedown, followed by a double stomp. Priest then reverses an Irish whip, looks for a South of Heaven choke slam, but Balor rolls him up for two, then sends Priest ringside. Balor's looking for a suicide dive here or a swanton or something, but Rhea Ripley stands in the way and Balor stops. Edge then comes into the ring and drops Balor, DQs the match. Styles runs in, beats down Edge for a minute while Balor takes care of Priest, but then Rhea Ripley steps in and gets in the middle of the two men, and nobody wants to hit the lady. Judgment Day stands tall here as they continue to beat down AJ and Priest, get him out of the ring. All three Judgment Day members standing in the middle of the ring. None of the men wanted to attack Ripley. We need to have a face lady now helping out these baby faces against Judgment Day, or they're just going to be able to insert Rhea Ripley every time that they want to distract a male from attacking anybody, because the men are not going to hit Rhea Ripley at all. But at the end of the day, it's nice to see that Balor and Styles are still working together. We're still getting the Bullet Club stuff here. Hopefully it'll have some legs and they'll continue to work together. That'll certainly be too sweet. And I'd like to see them get somebody of a lady to be part of this club here so that they can actually stand a chance against Rhea Ripley and the rest of Judgment Day, because as long as they have Rhea Ripley, they can just keep doing this shit where she stands in the way and they don't want to hit her. And then that hesitation causes them to get their ass kicked. Maybe Liv Morgan does it. Maybe somebody else. I don't know. But regardless, I was happy to see that Balor and AJ Styles are still working together. That probably won't last forever. In fact, a lot of people think Balor's eventually going to turn on AJ and join Judgment Day, but I don't see the purpose of that, except for the fact that Balor isn't that great on promos and Edge can help him in that area. But Balor's already an established star. He does not need to be in this faction. He needs to be one of the people that the faction is fighting against to help legitimize the faction, just like AJ Styles is one of the opponents. So you put AJ Styles, you put Balor together, you get another male in the Judgment Day faction, you add a female to help out Balor and AJ, then you have somebody for Balor and AJ to tag against, and a female to even the odds with Rhea Ripley in there now. Who that female is going to be, who the hell knows? But I definitely think it's a good idea and a good direction for them to go in. Who knows if they will. Moving on from that, we had KO backstage telling Chad Gable that he had a problem with the lie detector results. Chad Gable, though, assures him that he took the red cup that Ezekiel had last week. He sent it to a DNA lab. KO gets all excited. He's so funny here, man. He's just eating this up, getting real excited about the fact that they got a DNA test. And he said he's also excited because he's got a special guest because his brother is going to be fighting Ezekiel tonight. And we all know Kevin Owens doesn't have an older brother that's going to be wrestling tonight. So going into this, I was expecting something pretty funny, and we got something pretty funny, but we'll get to that later. Next up, we had the VIP lounge with Omos. Omos is now being introduced as the Nigerian giant. He comes out with MVP, and MVP says that big things are popping, little things are stopping because people like us are better than you. Then he asks everybody to stand up and respect Omos. So we got another fucking heel telling the crowd to respect Omos. And I'm doing this because it's a common theme. We had Samantha Irvin say this for Lacey Evans on SmackDown, which I think is a total heel move. And I think that Lacey Evans being presented as a babyface in all of her promos and all of her vignettes is actually going to be a swerve, and we're going to get her coming out as an angry heel. But anyway, we get MVP saying that same crap about Lashley going to Mania, leaving him behind, how he's pissed off about that. You'd think he'd get over it by now. I mean, who the hell cares? Cedric then comes out acting like he was a part of Omos winning, even though he had nothing to do with it. MVP says, let Cedric into the VIP lounge because security guards of the VIP lounge were hesitant to let him in. Cedric says, with MVP's skills and your strength, Omos, my experience, we can do so. And then MVP cuts him out. He said, who the hell is we? Cedric then says, I know Omos did a lot of the heavy lifting. MVP cuts him off again. And then Lashley enters. Lashley comes out looking pissed off here. He takes out all the security guards, runs him into the ring post. Lariat's another one. Then Cedric Alexander gets on the fucking apron, tries to do an attack, but he gets caught by Lashley. Lashley plants him ringside. Then he enters the ring, clotheslines Omos right out of the ring. Cedric then jumps on his back from the top rope, but he can't get anything done. MVP gets away. Lashley was going after MVP here, so Cedric saved him from that. But Lashley just locked the hurt lock onto Cedric for his trouble and for getting in his way of MVP. Later on in the night, we get Lashley backstage pissed off, challenging Omos to a steel cage match so that way nobody can fucking interfere in it. And we're going to get that cage match between Lashley and Omos next week. Oh, joy, I'm excited for that one. We're going to have Omos in a fucking cage like the animal that he is with Bobby Lashley. Hopefully, Bobby Lashley kicks his ass because that's what should happen within a steel cage. The only reason Omos had any business winning that match is because of the interference by MVP. No interference happening in a cage match, at least I don't think so, but who the fuck knows. But this should be a nice match next week if we can see Bobby Lashley beat the hell out of Omos. He might even throw him into the cage, throw him so hard it breaks the cage open, and that's how Omos wins. If they're doing the escape the cage as a form of victory thing, I have no idea. But I don't really want to see Omos and Lashley continue to be in the ring together. What I really want to see is MVP and Lashley. They're teasing that. We're seeing Lashley try to go after MVP, but he can't. Cedric got in the way today. Eventually, nobody's going to be able to get in the way. MVP is going to have to face Lashley, but I guess we're going to have to wait for that one. Backstage, we got Pierce telling Sonya Deville that they need to have a conversation after her match. She can't change the rules of the match. Sonya keeps interrupting Pierce every time he tries to tell her something. Says she doesn't care who her opponent is tonight because she's a professional. Yeah, right. Sonya Deville, a professional in the same sentence, doesn't belong. So Sonya Deville's waiting there in the ring. Pierce comes out, says, the investigation into your conduct has concluded by the higher-ups. And we have determined that you have recklessly abused your power and your contract as an official is now terminated. He says you still are a superstar, and your opponent tonight is Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss seemed to scare the fuck out of Sonya because she looked scared as hell in the ring. DDT right out of the gate by Bliss. Top rope twisted Bliss for 3 count. This one's over in about 30 seconds. Bliss squashes Deville like the jobber that she is at this point, and I'm glad she got what she deserved. Awesome for us to see Bliss back on TV. She looked great. Deville's breaking down manically ringside after the match. The only thing that I thought that was a little weird was Bliss comes out with new presentation as far as her look. The music, I couldn't tell if it was new or not, but she was holding the damn doll again, the Lily doll, which must be a great merchandise seller because they're hanging on to that despite her not even hanging on to the gothic fucking horror film character gimmick she was doing before. Regardless, Alexa Bliss on the show tonight. Huge plus for me. Nice to see her back in. She looked phenomenal. Obviously, they didn't want to put too much work on her just coming back, so they had her end it with the DDT and the quick twisted Bliss. But great showcase spot for her. And fuck Sonya Deville. She can get squashed by everybody on the roster right now for all I care. Next up, we had Ezekiel versus Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens said that it was going to be his brother facing Ezekiel. Ezekiel comes out to literally no reaction for a baby face, which is a little bit concerning for him. Then we get Owens coming out with a funny looking white wig on his head and a white beard, posing as his older brother. So KO comes out here and starts talking to Ezekiel, and he says, look, if you're Elias's older brother, then I'm Ken and I'm Kevin's older brother. Ezekiel then says, hi, Ken, how you doing? KO says, don't do that. These people don't believe you're Ezekiel. Maybe some idiots, but nobody is buying that you're this Elias's younger brother guy. He then asks for a show of hands from all the fans to acknowledge whether they believe Ezekiel is Ezekiel or not. And everybody cheers, raises their hand, and this pisses KO off. KO says, "Are you serious? Has anybody even finished high school here?" Said, "You're all idiots or you're liars. And I'm not sure which one's worse." Actually, I do know which one's worse. Liars. I hate liars, he says. Ezekiel says, "I don't think Kevin would like the way that you're talking, Ken." KO then says, "I'm not Ken, I'm Kevin. Just admit that you're Elias." He takes off the wig and the beard. Owens gets angry and starts to attack Zeke. Zeke spikes back, gets him into the corner. Alpha Academy then runs in. Zeke boots Gable out. Otis then gets in control of him from behind. They nail him with a splash by Otis. Owens dishes out a stunner to him for good measure. This is pretty much over before it starts. We don't even get a match. But it's pretty funny that Owens is really getting into his crawl about Elias and Ezekiel and whatever. Owens is really hitting this shit out of the park. He's all excited about the DNA results. He's all fucking pissed off and acting like he's going to pretend to be his older brother, coming out here looking like a freaking goofball with the wig and stuff like that. I don't know where they're going with the Ezekiel shit. I don't know where the hell it can go because it doesn't seem like any fans really give a damn about him. But, you know, to me, it's funny. Alpha Academy and KO and Ezekiel are going to do the comedy shit on this show, and it's going to replace the 24/7 bullshit, which we still saw a quick segment of tonight, but we didn't have it much on the show. We had an action-packed show tonight, a lot of good shit on the show. Um, but if that's going to be the only comedy thing, I think it's great. And, you know, Kevin Owens, nobody does it better. There's nobody better to put this Ezekiel shit with than Kevin Owens. So I really like it. Now, backstage, we get Pierce saying Asuka deserves a match directly to Asuka. Then Becky Lynch comes in and says, "Deserve? Why don't I have a rematch?" Pearson says, "If Asuka beats Bianca, she'll get a title shot." Becky Lynch says, "That doesn't make any fucking sense. Liv made the pin last week. I handed Asuka my championship when I left. There's no reason why the champion should get beat and then you get a title shot." So she's basically saying what we all think when we think of these championship contenders match. Asuka says, "You gave me the title to become a mommy, but now you don't act like a mommy, you act like a baby." Becky says, "This is fine. I'll just work my way back up from the bottom, straight up to the top. It'll make my climb much more stronger." Asuka then taunts her and acts ridiculous. This was literally the first time tonight I thought that there was a little bit of cringeworthy stuff going on. It took them almost 2 hours, but they made it happen. At least it didn't last long, but evidently Asuka is getting a contenders match later tonight. Becky is funny here that she says the contenders match is bullshit, like I said, because that's what we all think. What the fuck happened to two people who aren't champions fighting each other and gaining number one contender status? That's how it always was for the longest time. Now we have matches where you got to defeat the fucking champion just to gain a shot at their title. It doesn't make any fucking sense. If you pin the champion, you should have their title. I don't care. There's no reason why you should have to beat them twice, because they do this 50-50 shit. Well, you'll go and beat the champion, then get your title match and get your ass kicked. So there's really no point in the champion even trying in the contenders match, because they can lose it and then defeat the contender in the actual title match. So the whole thing doesn't make any fucking sense. It's really just their verbiage for having a champion versus a non-champion with a title not being on the line. But they try to work in the fact that you will gain a title shot if you win it. But even that's not even set in stone. You don't definitely earn a title shot if you win a contenders match. So I think it's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. They need to stop this. Go to a ranking system, or at least have contenders matches, qualifying matches, whatever, between people who aren't holding the fucking title. If you want to put somebody with a championship in a match, they need to defend the fucking title in the match. Enough of this contender bullshit. And I've had enough talking about it. So next we got Fear in a squash match. The jobber gets introduced as Frank Roman from Hartford. Fear's already in the ring while this guy is getting introduced. They did the same thing last week where they're having a guy talk about why he's there. Now this guy's here to support his family no matter what, even though he's seen everybody else get stretchered out of there. And Veer is just standing there patiently waiting for this all to get done. You would think a monster like him wouldn't have time for this kind of patience. So he made very quick work here. They lock up. Veer locks a rear waist lock in, then slams him face first with a gut wrench. Does this twice, then goes for a third, but Frank stops it. Then he ends up getting thrown into the corner. Very quickly, though, Veer nails the $1 million forearm and locks in the cervical clutch for an immediate tap out, and the match is over. Veer squashed this guy real quick, and we didn't see much of the post match ridiculousness of him tearing this guy apart, grunting, making all kinds of noises. I like the way that they set up the jobbers before the match. That's an old school thing. I don't understand why they don't bring Veer out after the jobber introduces himself, because it makes no sense for a guy who totally wants to tear everybody apart to just stand there patiently and wait for the match to start. You would think he would say, fuck this interview. I'm going to run over here and attack this guy while he's talking about whatever the hell his intentions are. But that's the way they're doing it. Doesn't really make much sense to me. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing with Veer here or who's going to beat him. I've been saying this for weeks. He's done nothing more in these TV matches than he does or has done in about a year. He's done the same fucking thing in his dark matches and his house show matches. You know, the house show matches are meant to build people up. Case in point, last night we had Cody and Seth. Cody and Seth been working together on the house show loop for a while. Friend of mine was at the Trenton show on Saturday where Cody and Seth had a match. He told me that the match was almost identical to the Backlash match except for the finish. This means that while these guys are at the house shows, they're working on shit. They're getting themselves better at what they're doing. And that's why we're getting these really clean, nice pay-per-view matches. We've seen Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre working together since the fucking draft. So there's no doubt in my mind that the two of them are going to lock up for a title match sometime soon. Who knows when, though? I don't know if they're going to try to swerve and get Orton to do a short-term feud before they save Drew for the summer for a bigger show. Maybe they do use Nakamura at Hell in the Cell. Drew might be cast to the side here for a minute. I don't agree with doing that. I say move full force ahead with Drew. But if you're not going to do that, then go ahead and get Orton in there. Either one of them are qualified. Both of them were in the match last night and kicked Roman Reigns' ass at a certain point. And if it weren't for the Usos, they would have had him pinned. So I think that we need to see one of them going after Roman Reigns soon. But who the hell knows what's going to happen. Backstage, we get Cody talking about his match with Theory. He said he's done with Seth Rollins. He recognizes Rollins as a top 5 in the world wrestler, but as far as he's concerned, he's done because he's beaten him twice. Nothing sounds better to him than being the new U.S. champion, and Theory better dig deep to try to beat him. Now, to me, as soon as I heard Cody say all this shit about being done with Rollins, it made me think Rollins is going to interfere in this title match, and it's going to be a DQ. So let's see what happens here. Cody comes into a big babyface reaction as he always does. It's all kinds of pyro going off all over the place. People in the building look like they're fucking scared. They're covering their ears, but whatever. Cody early control in this match. He backs Theory into the corner, drops Theory. Theory rolls out to the apron. Then we get a lock up. Cody powers out of it, eats a shoulder block. Theory then cartwheels and showboats around the ring like the prick heel that he is. Cody then hits a gut kick, drop down punch, rolls him up for 2. So he hit that gold dust drop down punch uppercut that he was trying to hit on Seth all night last night. Then locks in a backslide, only gets a 2 count. Fights out of a waistlock with some elbows, sends Theory to the apron, hits an elbow, but Theory rolls back in with a basement drop kick. Hits a stomp and only gets a 1 count when he tries to cover him up with a cocky pin, just standing on him with 1 foot. Cody begins favoring his knee in this match, but then he hits a big delayed inverted suplex, then a drop kick, then a really nice springboard kick to Theory and sends him out to the ringside area. Theory greets him at the ropes with an elbow to the face, clears off the announce table, shoves Cody outside, but Cody turns the tables on him and starts beating the hell out of Theory into the table. Theory then escapes this, gets back into the ring. Now we're back in the ring. Theory gets a stereotypical rear chin lock on Cody after hitting a couple lariats during the commercial break. Cody reverses a back suplex attempt, and they run the ropes. Both men crash and burn after hitting each other with some cross bodies at the same time. Cody hits a sling blade takedown and hits a beautiful looking disaster kick, followed by a Cody cutter. It looks like Cody's going to come out with a win here. And then all of a sudden, we got Rollins emerging, running in from the ramp. He starts beating down Cody. DQ, bell rings, takes him ringside, beats the hell out of him into the announce table over and over again while talking some shit on him. Seth clears the table off, gets up there. Cody's leaning his head over the table. Seth hits the curb stomp on the table and starts freaking out. So much for the end of Rollins or Cody. I think that they're going to continue here. We're probably going to see them at Hell in the Cell in a round 3. Looks like that program's certainly not anywhere near the end. Good match before the DQ. Cody worked well with Theory. For two guys, especially that haven't been running house shows together and really haven't had much experience working together. Theory looked good here, but Cody clearly had him beat at certain different times. He was a better man in this match. It proves that Cody is a force to be reckoned with, and Theory is a true heel champion who's going to run from challenges. He was running, trying to evade Cody all match long. He played fucking possum all match. He taunted his ass off like the fucking prick asshole that he is, and only retained because Rowan interfered. So it's a typical fucking heel title defense where they don't actually defend their title. Somebody else DQs the match, and then they retain by default. In the end, Cody still doesn't lose this match, but it would have been nice to see him take Theory's title here. But honestly, it was kind of predictable that this would happen, especially after the promo. Theory's run at the champ hasn't been long enough either. Storytelling here was nice because it shows that Cody has a mission. He's moved on from Rollins and his bullshit and wants to achieve something in winning the U.S. title. But Rollins is so damn sadistic that he can't handle losing and won't allow Cody to make any kind of ground or any kind of achievements. So that's pretty much what we got there. We'll see where we're going with Rollins and Cody moving forward. But up next, we got Sasha Banks and Naomi taking on newly formed tag team of Nikki ASH and Doudrop. Now, if we remember last week, Doudrop came up to Nikki ASH and said, "You ready to get serious?" We all thought we'd see a gimmick change by one of them or both of them or whatever. Instead, they just formed a tag team. Now, match was pretty quick here. It started out with Naomi hitting 2 drop kicks on Doudrop, knocking her into the corner, but Doudrop got out of that with an elbow. Ended up hitting a splash in the corner on Naomi to drop her to the floor. Naomi crawls, but Doudrop cuts her off. Send her to the corner again. Naomi fights out with a stinger splash, then a headbutt. Naomi then goes for a slide after running the ropes, but Doudrop sits on her and gains control of the match. She then prevents a tag by Naomi with a headlock, but Naomi fights out, hits a jawbreaker, then an enziguri. Doudrop still prevents the tag, though. Doudrop splashes Naomi in the corner, lifts her up for a power slam, but Naomi slides out of that, runs her into the corner with a bulldog, and tags in Sasha, and they ram Doudrop's head into the turnbuckle. Eventually, Nikki ASH tags in here. She's hitting a couple offensive moves on Sasha Banks. Then she stalls, going for a suplex, saying, "I'm going to hit this. I'm ready. I'm blah, blah, blah." She ends up taking way too much time here. Sasha runs her into the corner for a blind tag by Naomi, who takes Ash out with a kick. Banks runs over and takes out Doudrop here. Then Naomi and Banks hit their code breaker finisher on Nikki ASH to retain their titles, if they were even on the line here. I don't even know. And Nikki ASH takes the pin here. After the match, Doudrop is telling Nikki, "Are you ready to get fucking serious here and stop this shit?" So they're teasing a character change here for Nikki. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Doudrop's laying into her about it. Maybe they just wanted to show the match before they made the gimmick change and show the failure of the gimmick before they change it. But they're definitely going to have a gimmick change if Doudrop's continuing to say, "Let's get serious, stop this bullshit." Next up, we had Mustafa Ali versus Tommaso Ciampa. Miz is scheduled as the guest referee. I got to tell you, Miz is a real dickhead for not counting for Ali here. I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was fucking stupid. A lot of my friends were saying, "Oh, this is funny the way Miz is doing this shit." I think it's fucking dumb when they put in a guest referee to do this shit. I really can't stand it. So we start out with a lockup. Ciampa runs Ali into the corner. Ali dodges an attack and lands a chop, but Ciampa then gains control, drops him with some strikes, eats a boot to the face. Then Ali goes for a sunset flip bridge for a short count. Ciampa then gains control again, stomps some mud holes in the corner. Ali goes ringside to hang Ciampa, but Ciampa scouts it, hits a knee to the face of Ali. Then he heads outside, turns him inside out with a big thunderous lariat that just totally folded up Ali here. Then we get back in the ring. Ali gets an inside cradle, but Miz won't actually get down and count. This allows Ciampa to gain some control here. Ciampa locks in a rear headlock. Oh, God. Another rear headlock. How many have we seen tonight? He runs Ali into the corner, chest first, then another headlock. Story here is Miz is giving Ciampa all kinds of breaks and not really holding anything against him. And he's not being fair to Ali. Ali reverses a whip into the corner, but then eats a big boot to the face on a corner charge by Ciampa. Now we trade blows. Ali gets the better of it, hits a flying elbow, then nails a charging forearm in the corner, goes out to the apron, flips into the ring, hits a nice looking neck breaker here. Ali goes up to the top rope, tries to get a 450, but Ciampa rolls away. Ciampa then hits some strikes, but Ali nails him with the springboard tornado DDT. Beautiful looking spot here. I really liked it. Nice, smooth move by Ali. This should have finished the fucking match, but Miz counted slow. It should have been a fucking 10 count, but he only got to like 1.5. Then we get Ali arguing with the Miz. This allows Ciampa to take advantage with the modified flatliner. Miz then fast counts for Ciampa, and Ciampa takes home the win here. Ali gets fucking screwed. That's the story. Miz does not like Ali. Ciampa gets the benefit of Miz being his referee. Obviously, Ciampa's being presented as a heel here. We all think he's going to be the next one to join the Judgment Day faction. I can only hope so because I think he would fit it real well. And I also think that he'd be a great guy to have under Edge's tutelage here, is same as Priest and Rhea Ripley. I mean, let's face it, Ciampa's really not going anywhere. He's been stuck in NXT forever. Now he's finally on the main roster. Let's get him in that faction. Let's get him working against AJ Styles and Finn Balor and having his promos cut by Edge. I think it would be really good. He's the only person I can see joining this thing besides fucking T-Bar that would make it good. They're not going to put another big star in there. They're going to put guys who haven't been finding their traction, so to speak, on the main roster. And people like Priest and Rhea Ripley fit that mold perfectly. Ciampa fits that as well. T-Bar fits that. Somebody like Balor doesn't. I know Balor's been struggling a lot lately, and they've been booking him like shit, but he is not somebody who should be in this faction. I understand the demon thing and all that stuff, but all these people who predict Balor should turn on AJ Styles and this faction. Too many people actually like Balor to see that happen. More people want to see him as a babyface. Maybe he's one of the people that Vince McMahon thinks is miscast and should be cast as a heel, but who the fuck knows? I don't want to see it happen. I want to see Ciampa join that faction. And this whole thing that they're doing to Ali is goddamn embarrassing. They shouldn't be treating him like this on TV. Miz on the TV alone is fucking nauseating to me. Although I appreciate him as a heel and what he does. He maintains the same heat every fucking week, like I said. And that's something that nobody can do other than Rollins, maybe Kevin Owens, and a couple other guys. So at the end of the day, they need to start treating Mustafa Ali better if they're actually going to use him. Otherwise, just let the guy go. I mean, why do we have to keep embarrassing this guy? It's ridiculous. Now, backstage, we get Lacey Evans Chapter 6. Now we're seeing it on Raw instead of just SmackDown. She said that she learned to hide and fight and when to use fighting. She taught herself how to juggle jobs in schools and did all her makeup. Why is this on Raw is what I'm thinking. Why are we seeing this again? We already had Samantha Irvin introduce her in a total heel move. After all, this babyface gut-wrenching story about her father's addiction and her military background is great. I really like it. But what the hell? Why the hell would you have a ring announcer announce a baby face and demand the reaction of the fans? That isn't normal. That isn't something that's gonna happen. That's why I think that Lacey's gonna actually be a heel who comes out and says, well, I went through the fucking military. I had to deal with all these addictions and overdoses. None of you fucking people cared. All you superstars are fucking entitled. So I'm going to come out as a heel and I'm going to challenge Rousey for the women's champion because she said she wanted to be the SmackDown women's champion. Well, the champion's a babyface now, so she's going to have to wait a while. What I would really like to see, since I'm going to be at SmackDown on Friday, is I would like to see Bayley return and Bayley be the heel that challenges Ronda Rousey. That's what I would like to see. Next up, we got Lashley challenging Omos to the cage match that I mentioned. That's going to be confirmed for next week. And also backstage, we see R-Truth serving divorce papers to everyone in the 24/7 marriage situation. Reggie gets upset by it. And Tamina says to R-Truth, you need to make sure you give those papers to Tozawa, who ran away when the divorce was mentioned. That's all they did with 24/7 tonight, which was great for me. Only took up about 2 minutes of time. I took a piss and missed the whole thing, so that's fine. Finally, we get to the main event here. We got Asuka and Bianca Belair in a Champions Contender match. Becky Lynch enters first to be on commentary, and I'm thinking she's going to interfere in this match when she comes out. But who the fuck knows? Now, this thing started at like 10:55, so you knew it wasn't going to be a banger of a match. Asuka entered into a pretty nice baby face reaction, but I was thinking to myself, why the hell do they have two baby faces fighting in the main event on Raw? This makes no sense. This isn't going to have a finish. I mean, having two heels in a match can make sense because you can do things to get the crowd behind one of the heels. Circa the Royal Rumble, we had Seth Rollins as a heel, Roman Reigns as a heel. How do we get the fans behind Seth Rollins in this situation? Now, people say, oh, he's a tweener. Some people like him. WWE doesn't have tweeners. They have baby faces and they have heels for booking purposes. So when you have two heels in the match, what you do is you have Roman Reigns as your super heel. You want him booed. You have Seth Rollins as a heel. You don't want him booed for the purpose of the Royal Rumble match. So you have him enter with the Shield entrance through the crowd. That gets the crowd excited for him, gets them behind him in that match. And then we have a baby face and a heel just for that match. But Seth is a heel, not a tweener. There's no such thing as a tweener. You can call someone a tweener from your perspective as a fan, but from WWE's perspective for booking purposes, people are either heels or they're baby faces. That's it. There isn't an in between. Now, what they do with certain people who do get good crowd reactions is they'll do what they did, like I said at the Royal Rumble with Seth Rollins, and have two heels and do some sort of mechanism to get the crowd temporarily behind that superstar. That's not something that we see very often. And you never see two baby faces going after it, because why the hell would you want to root against one of the baby faces? I understand people like certain people more than others, but at the end of the day, baby faces are supposed to be reasonable people. I mean, to me, two heels would want to duke it out because they want to fight. Two baby faces would want to talk it out. So this doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, we have the match start out here. Asuka looked really smooth in the ring tonight. I really liked the way she was working. Belair starts in control. She tries to hit Asuka with a shoulder block, but it doesn't drop her. Then they run the ropes together. Asuka makes a nice looking hip toss, rolls into a pin for a 2 count. Then Belair takes on some control here, avoids an attack with a handspring, but Asuka wipes her out with a sweeping kick. Belair then goes for a suplex, but can't get Asuka all the way up. Asuka rolls her up for 2, then transitions into an armbar, then smoothly transition to a triangle lock. So Asuka really looking smooth with her submissions in this match. Bianca deadlifts Asuka out of the submission and then plants her ass right on the mat with a power bomb. Bianca goes for the handspring off the ropes, but Becky pulls her feet. Match ends in a DQ there, and then pulls her out of the ring, runs Bianca right into the ring steps. That downs Bianca. This allows Becky to enter the ring and attack Asuka. Now, boos are actually raining in right now, obviously, because of the DQ and because Becky's a heel, fucking with two baby faces here. Becky gets in there, runs the rope, hits the running leg drop, taunts the crowd. Boos continue to rain in. Becky picks up Asuka, plants her ass right on the fucking mat with a big manhandle slam. Raw ends here. We go off the air with Becky interfering in the main event, potentially to keep her in the title picture, but honestly, it's not that. I think she's just feeding the feud with Asuka. She didn't want Asuka getting an opportunity before her. And like I said, the opportunity didn't make any fucking sense because Asuka is a babyface, and so is Bianca Belair. I see Ripley as more the immediate or at least the long term feud for Bianca. They have had some awesome moments together in the ring, and now Rhea is a heel, so it will actually make sense. Asuka never made sense here. Two heels sometimes work together, like I said. Two baby faces do not. But anyway, this was a great Raw episode, one of the best in a while. A lot of fuck finishes, but it doesn't matter because the storyline progressions were there. Zeke and KO, their storyline kept going. Cody, Seth, we got a new chapter coming up, and it came at us in an unexpected way. We got a new member of Judgment Day, Balor and AJ fighting back against Judgment Day. Are they going to get a female helper? Is Judgment Day going to get another male? Omos and Lashley now have a cage match next week. MVP's being a prick, running away like the asshole manager that he is, afraid as shit of Bobby Lashley, who he says is only almighty because of MVP. But then again, if he's only almighty because of MVP, then why the hell is MVP so fucking scared of him? Got Asuka and Becky feeding their feud with Becky's interference here. I like that. Bliss's return was great, albeit 2 minutes long. At least we got to see her. She's on TV. She's doing something. She squashed somebody we wanted to see squashed. Gable and KO were funny as hell. RK-Bro defended their tag titles, and they're getting their way to SmackDown this week, which I'm excited to see. Now, speaking of the Street Profits, they need to figure something out here, man, because they've been doing the same act for years. Montez Ford's a budding star. I think Dawkins is better than he gets credit for, but I still don't think he's on the level of other single stars. So I don't know what the hell they would do if they split up. So, one of the things they could do with the Street Profits, because Montez Ford is married to Bianca Belair, and I know they don't like to pair up people who are couples and shit like that, but have Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins be Bianca's fucking henchman, because if she does end up in a feud with Rhea Ripley, she's going to have henchmen with Priest and Edge and whoever the hell else joins this faction. So Bianca's going to need some backup, and Street Profits are a good group to do that. They've been showing some edge. They need to stay the hell away from RK-Bro because I'm sick of seeing those matches. They need to stay the hell away from Alpha Academy because I'm sick of seeing Alpha Academy wrestle against them. They can't do anything else with these tag teams they currently have that we haven't already seen 1,000 times. We're going to see the rematches anyway, but I like the fact that RK-Bro's heading to SmackDown to settle the score with the Usos after what happened last night. Obviously, RK-Bro kicked the Usos' ass in that match. Drew did kick Roman's ass in that match. Ultimately, Roman came in and pinned Riddle with a spear out of nowhere, and they kept Orton and McIntyre safe in that match. So there's a lot left on the bone for a lot of this stuff, and I'm excited to see what happens. I think everybody should. This show tonight, following a decent pay-per-view, was definitely something that I thought was impressive. Usually following a good pay-per-view, we get a stinker of a show. Lately, we've been fed a lot of dog food, dog food, dog food. Then we get to the pay-per-view and get a nice dinner. Last night, we had a nice dinner for pay-per-view, and then we were served up a pretty nice dinner again for Monday Night Raw. We can only hope for that to continue. Like I said, I'll be in the building for the SmackDown, and I will really like it. Speaking of that, we may not have a SmackDown review coming out immediately after SmackDown like we usually do, but we will work on something. We'll also be back on Wednesday with our weekend review, me and Kyle. And on Saturday, Chris and I will be doing a show as well. Our retro shows are getting ready to drop. Chris and I are working on some Ruthless Aggression retro shows, and Kyle and I are working on Attitude Era ones. So we're going to get some good content out there for you. Really want you guys to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you use. We're available on all of them. You can find us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. And please email us your fan questions at any time, matt@beyondthemat.com. I will answer them on air, or my co-host will do so as well. Other than that, guys, I don't have much more about this. This was an excellent, excellent night for Raw. They really hit a lot of storylines here. They didn't waste our time. They did show a lot of video packages as they needed to, but that didn't seem to hinder the progress of the stories, and they didn't make the segments too long. You don't always need a bunch of matches that have clean finishes and that have awesome work. We needed story building here, and they did that. And that's something that we really need to move on through the year. We need storylines and we need feuds, because other than the feuds and the storylines, all we have is a bunch of strong people that want to fight each other. And it doesn't make any fucking sense unless there's a story. So I enjoy the way that they did this tonight. I'm real excited for what's to come. We can only hope that we continue to get shows like this. I think that it's a step in the right direction, and WWE is showing some promise. Remember, a lot of the restrictions they had before are not there. A lot of people criticize all the different storylines that happened during the pandemic. Well, I got news for you. It was during the fucking pandemic. Half the fucking roster wasn't available. They would go into venues even after the pandemic was over and they were allowed to travel, and certain guys couldn't get in, certain ladies couldn't get into certain venues because of certain laws in certain jurisdictions and vaccinations and testing positive. It makes it really difficult to book a fucking wrestling promotion when you have all those fucking restrictions due to the COVID-19 virus. And now that we're coming out of the pandemic, I think WWE is going to take advantage of this opportunity to really serve up the fans some good stuff. I think we're looking at a good summer here with a lot of good feuds. I'm excited. With Becky Lynch, we're going to see her probably continue to spiral out of control and make her triumphant rise back to the title picture by next WrestleMania. I have no problem with seeing her spiral out of control right now, because it will only make her rise back to the top for the last time, probably more triumphant than ever. It's something that I'm excited to see, but also patient to wait for. Right now, I think the face of WWE is certainly Bianca Belair, and she should be. She's an absolute star, and they need to feature her a little bit more than 5 minutes at the end of Raw and end in a DQ with her getting ran into the steps. But at the end of the day, I can't nitpick at things. I thought it was a great show, and I'm real excited for what's to come. I hope you guys have a great night. That's all I got for you. I'm going to get out of here. You guys take it easy. And like always, thanks for listening. We'll be back on Wednesday. Tune in and turn it up. It'll be me and Kyle doing the weekend review. I'll catch you later, guys.